the verse that shatters the Jesus was created argument. Many argue that Jesus was a created being, a high-ranking angel, or just a prophet. But there's one verse in the Bible that absolutely shatters this argument. This verse leaves no room for debate about who Jesus really is. Stay with me as we dive into this powerful passage that proves Jesus is eternal, uncreated, and fully God. Section 1. The common argument. Was Jesus created? Some religious groups like Jehovah's Witnesses and others claim that Jesus is not God, but a created being. They often reference verses like Colossians chapter 1:15, where Jesus is called the firstborn of all creation, to support their argument. But does this interpretation hold up when we examine the Bible as a whole? Let's look at a verse that completely refutes the idea that Jesus was created. Section 2. The verse that shatters this argument. John chapter 1:3. The verse that dismantles the Jesus was created argument is found in the first chapter of the Gospel of John. John 1:1-3, KJV. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Breaking down John 1:3-1. All things were made by him. This clearly states that Jesus, the Word, is the creator of everything. 2. Without him was not anything made that was made. This emphasizes that Jesus created everything that has ever been made. 3. If Jesus were a created being, he would have to fall into the category of things that were made, but this verse excludes him from that category. Key takeaway. Jesus cannot be a created being if he is the one who made all things. Section 3. Supporting evidence from Colossians chapter 1:16-17. John chapter 1:3 isn't the only verse that confirms Jesus is the uncreated creator. Let's look at Colossians chapter 1:16-17. Colossians chapter 1:16-17, KJV. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. Key takeaways. 1. Jesus created all things, including angels, the physical world, and even invisible powers. 2. He is before all things, meaning he existed before anything else was created. 3. By him all things consist. Jesus actively sustains the universe, which only God can do. Section 4. Addressing misinterpretations of firstborn. Some people misinterpret Colossians 1:15, which calls Jesus the firstborn of all creation, to mean that Jesus was the first created being. But let's explore what firstborn really means in biblical context. 1. Firstborn does not mean first created. In Hebrew culture, firstborn was a title of preeminence, authority, and inheritance, not necessarily birth order. For example, in Exodus 4:22, God calls Israel his firstborn, even though it wasn't the first nation created. In Psalm 89:27, God says he will make David his firstborn, even though David was the youngest in his family. 2. Firstborn refers to Jesus' supreme authority. Colossians 1:15 calls Jesus the firstborn because he is preeminent over all creation, not because he was created. The very next verses, Colossians 1:16-17, clarify that Jesus is the creator of all things. Section 5. Jesus is YHWH, the eternal creator. Now let's connect what we've learned with a powerful Old Testament verse that reveals who Jesus truly is. Isaiah 44:24, KJV. Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb, I am the Lord that maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. Key connection. Isaiah 44:24 says that God, YHWH, created the heavens and the earth alone. But John 1:3 and Colossians 1:16-17 say that Jesus created all things. Therefore, Jesus must be YHWH, the eternal, uncreated creator. Section 6. Answering common objections. Objection number 1. Jesus was created before the rest of creation. Answer. John chapter 2:3 refutes this by saying that Jesus created everything, and nothing that was created was made without him. He cannot be part of the created order if he made it all. Objection number 2. Jesus is just an agent through whom God created. Answer. Isaiah 54:24 says God created the universe alone, which means Jesus must be fully God. Objection number 3. The Trinity isn't biblical. Answer. Isaiah 48:16, Genesis chapter 1:26, and John 1:1 all reveal the plurality within the Godhead. Final challenge and call to action. Now, it's your turn. If Jesus isn't God, how do you explain John 1:3? If Jesus isn't God, how do you explain Isaiah 44:24, which says God created alone? Do you believe Jesus is the uncreated creator? Let's discuss in the comments. Like, share, and comment below. Subscribe.